We Die Young begins with a teenager named Lucas explaining how dreary life is in his neighborhood due to the prevalence of numerous crimes, such as murder, rape, and drug trafficking. The crimes have caused significant distress among the residents of the neighborhood, not to mention the presence of criminals who rule the region. Lucas works as a drug courier for one of the town's most powerful gangsters. He understands the flow of drug trafficking in the city, from couriers like himself roaming the streets, from one customer to another on his bicycle, to an intermediary who conducts a drug business between a large gang, led by a man named Jester, who happens to be the big boss' right-hand man. Lucas informs his customers that the big boss, who leads the group, cannot be found by anybody, thus most people only contact with him via Jester. However, unlike the rest of the gang, Lucas has easy access to the big boss, a man named Rincon. Rincon is renowned as a nasty gang leader who will kill anyone who dares to cause issue for him. Rincon once ordered his soldiers to torment a man who had betrayed him before brutally killing him. As usual, Lucas was riding his bicycle throughout the neighborhood, delivering drug parcels to customers who had ordered from Rincon. He then encounters a regular customer named Daniel. Daniel is not a drug addict. He gets medications from Lucas to treat an extreme depression that refuses to go away. Daniel is a veteran U.S. soldier who served in the war in Afghanistan. Daniel's awful experience on the battlefield left him so depressed that he had to use medications to cope. He was not only psychologically impacted, but he also lost his capacity to speak verbally. That's why he constantly spoke with Lucas through text messages on his cell phone. Whenever Lucas delivers his order, Daniel always tells him to leave the gangsters and live a normal teenage life, which includes attending to school and playing. But Lucas consistently seems to disregard Daniel's advice. The picture then shifts to Rincon peering through the window and discovering an automobile parked near his residence. Rincon suspected the car belonged to FBI operatives assigned to snoop on him. He then informed his sister to prepare because she was getting married soon. After leaving Daniel's house, Lucas went to an elderly man named Carlos to collect money for narcotics he purchased some time ago. However, Carlos stated that he was experiencing difficulty because his fruit sales have been quite low recently, so he requested an extension of the payment date. Lucas, out of charity, gave him the option of paying the bill next week and asked the old guy to pay it off right away so Rincon wouldn't be furious with him. Meanwhile, a priest visited Rincon's house to discuss his sister's upcoming wedding blessing ceremony. The priest asked Rincon if the blessing of his sister's marriage should be held in church to be more formal. But Rincon promptly rejected it, citing security concerns. The priest refused to move and was compelled to comply with Rincon's requests, resulting in the wedding taking place at his home. Lucas, on the other hand, who went to the drug courier's base camp before giving Rincon the deposit, was taken aback when he found his younger brother there. Lucas' brother excitedly announced that he had joined Rincon's group and would become a drug courier like him. In contrast to his younger brother, who was overjoyed that he would ultimately become a mobster like his sibling, Lucas became irritated and rebuked him. He then compelled his brother to go back to school. Elsewhere, Daniel, who was purchasing fast food from a food truck, enraged some customers because his inability to talk slows down service, forcing them to wait for quite some time. Some criminals couldn't wait for Daniel to order dinner, so they bullied him fully. Despite being a highly trained ex-soldier, Daniel chooses not to retaliate against his bullies. Daniel instantly fled the area and went to a quiet alley when his ailment resurfaced. He dug into his pocket and took out the pills he had purchased from Lucas to alleviate his depression. However, other thugs noticed Daniel consuming illegal narcotics and attempted to rob him. But then Daniel, unable to contain his rage, beat the thugs to a pulp. Moving on, Rincon seemed to have done an excellent job of preparing his sister for her wedding. Despite his reputation for cruelty and violence, Rincon reveals a genuine affection for his sister and would always do his best for her. The groom-to-be then traveled to Rincon with his family. They appeared nervous, knowing Rincon's reputation as a criminal leader whom everyone feared. When everyone at Rincon's house appears to be preparing for the wedding, Lucas arrives to hand over the money for the drug sales payment to him. Unlike the other couriers, Lucas appears to be familiar with Rincon because he admires Lucas and believes he is intelligent and trustworthy. Rincon even saw Lucas like a part of his own family. Lucas's older brother was revealed to be a former Special Forces man who tragically died while attempting to safeguard Lucas from drugs and thugs. Rincon then told Lucas how much he loved his entire family, especially his disabled sister. Rincon then assigned Lucas a critical task: deliver 2 huge items to a person waiting for him near the gas station. Rincon insisted that Lucas complete his work as fast as possible so that he could attend his sister's wedding and have a good time at the reception. Not long after, Chester barged in, carrying a man who was frequently late in front of Rincon. Rincon then warned the victim to repay his debt immediately, while Chester beat him to death. Rincon immediately urged Lucas to leave, and it was evident that Chester disliked Lucas' presence at Rincon's home. Chester then asked Rincon why he had sent Lucas to deliver the very important package, which he believed Rincon should have sent him. Chester never liked Lucas since Rincon appeared to pay extra attention to him. Rincon, on the other hand, reasoned that they were being monitored by FBI agents, and he did not want Chester apprehended by them. As a result, he sent Lucas so that he wouldn't raise the suspicions of the FBI agents who were watching their activities not far away. Meanwhile, as he was going to deliver his item, Lucas witnessed his younger brother being thrashed by criminals, a routine for anyone wishing to join a gang. Lucas then attempted to stop the prosecution by claiming that Rincon had ordered him to do so. Lucas then went home to pick up his brother and take him to school, despite the fact that he was compelled to ignore his obligations for a brief while. However, when Lucas arrived home, he unintentionally dropped one of the gifts and failed to notice. When they were about to leave, Chester and his men arrived, intending to take Lucas to Rincon's house and report about his conduct for purposefully disobeying Rincon's commands. Chester and his thugs then battered Lucas, but he managed to flee with his brother. While fleeing, Lucas encountered Daniel, who was driving his automobile. Daniel pulled over and urged them to get in and conceal. However, Chester and his henchmen were aware of this and pursued them on motorcycles. Chasing action around the tiny streets was inescapable until Daniel eventually paralyzed Chester and his minions. Meanwhile, Rincon was hosting his sister's wedding party, which was simple but vibrant. Everyone seemed happy. Turning back to Lucas, he unintentionally put a package in Daniel's car, which was now on fire. He finally recognized that one of the parcels was missing from the bag and suspected that it had fallen while he was at home. On the other side, Chester promptly reported the incident to Rincon, who appeared enraged and unhappy with Lucas. Rincon then instructed Chester and his soldiers to catch Lucas and his brother alive. Meanwhile, Daniel urged Lucas leave town right now while he had the chance, but he seemed dissatisfied with Daniel's suggestion and requested him not to interfere with his business. Lucas dashed home to pick up his gift, intending to deliver it to finish the mission assigned by Rincon. Shortly after Chester left his room, Rincon was approached by Spider, another gang leader who happened to be the recipient of Lucas' delivery. Spider questions Rincon about the whereabouts of the package, which turns out to contain a large sum of money. When Lucas arrived home, he ran to recover the dropped package, which he found under the bed. He dashed to get it and promptly left with his brother. But then Lucas is framed by a friend, who turns him over to Chester and his goons. They took Lucas away to confront Rincon. Meanwhile, Daniel had gone home and was shocked to discover that his father-in-law had been beaten up by Chester and his thugs. Because Chester and the others had dared to harm his family, Daniel resolved to exact retribution and save Lucas and his brother. When Daniel arrived at Rincon's home, he confronted 2 of his men. Daniel, who was nearly defeated by the criminals, recalled the horrific incidents he had witnessed in Afghanistan before rising to kill one of Rincon's henchmen and kidnap another. Knowing that FBI investigators were watching Rincon's home, Daniel provoked them into attacking Rincon's home with the man he kidnapped as a hostage. When the FBI agents discovered this, they quickly launched an attack on Rincon's home, which was closely secured by armed criminals. Gunfights are unavoidable. Rincon and the FBI both suffered significant casualties. Unfortunately, Rincon's sister was also killed in the attack on her wedding day, when she should have been the happiest. Daniel was shot in the leg while attempting to save Lucas and his brother. Lucas attempted to save himself in the midst of the chaos, taking his brother with him, but Chester caught up with them and threatened them with a gun. But then Rincon appears, stopping Chester from killing them. Rincon expressed disappointment in Lucas for betraying him, despite the fact that he had always considered Lucas to be his own brother. When Rincon was about to kill Lucas, he couldn't handle the thought and ordered him and his brother to leave. When Chester saw this, he became enraged and accused Rincon of cowardice. Chester subsequently exhibits rage and resentment toward Lucas, who is always cared for and treated as if he were Rincon's own child, despite the fact that Chester is Rincon's nephew. Chester, who aims to steal Rincon's power within their organization, shoots him in the head. When Jester was about to kill Lucas and his brother, Daniel arrived and attempted to pacify Jester by handing him a package containing a large sum of money. However, upon further investigation, it was discovered that the box does not include money. Jester, feeling tricked, intends to murder Daniel. However, someone shoots and kills him. It came out that this individual was one of Lucas' friends who had captured him. The film concludes with Lucas and his brother traveling out of town by train. While on their trip, Lucas' brother saw a big sum of money in his pocket, which Daniel had purposefully hidden as provisions for them to begin a new life in another city. The moral of this film is that harboring envy for others will only bring you misery. Additionally, avoid narcotics. Never use drugs for whatever reason, since it will only cause sorrow for ourselves and those around us. Also, avoid toxic situations and relationships because they will lead to an everlasting cycle of unhappiness.